Now we're going to be going over the Week 4 potential booming and busting wide receivers. Number one booming wide receiver, Davante Adams. Philadelphia, their cornerback, Ronald Darby, he's out. They've got a hobbled defense. Teams tend to play pretty poorly on Thursday Night Football. So look for a fully healthy and ready Packers team to get ready for a booming start to their offense. Cooper Kupp, I said Todd Gurley. I think that Tampa Bay is going to be stacking the line. So look for Cooper Kupp to be getting a lot of those short passes. He's always been Jared Goff's favorite target. No mistaking that for the popular name, Brandon Cooks. But Cooper Kupp has been his most productive and most favored wide receiver. So look for him to be getting a lot of first downs and a lot of red zone targets. Juju Smith-Schuster, Pittsburgh Steelers against the Cincinnati Bengals. I think Mason Rudolph is going to need a number one target to favor. And Cincinnati has a pretty bad defense. There's no number one cornerback on their team. So I would definitely look to start Juju Smith-Schuster, who has had a pretty disappointing start to the season so far. Another wide receiver, Terry McLaurin from the Washington Redskins. He's had about 80 yards and a touchdown in every single game he's played this year. He's one of those Ohio State skill position players. He's going to be doing really well. They transfer really well into the pros. The Giants have a pretty bad defense. Look for Terry McLaurin. He's a pretty unknown name right now, but he could really turn himself into a pretty good story in the coming season. Another wide receiver that I think is going to be booming this week is Chris Godwin. Mike Evans is going to be playing against Aqib Talib this week. And Mike Evans has had a pretty disappointing start to this season. It looks like he's had a lot of targets, a lot of numbers, but I'm pretty sure about 70% of all his stats came in week 3. So look for Chris Godwin to be burning Marcus Peters. He's a very, very fast wide receiver. Marcus Peters has a lot of issue biting, trying to make the big play, looking for jumping routes. So I think he could get burned on a few big plays that could lead to Chris Godwin having a huge week. And then a sleeper wide receiver for this week is Odell Beckham Jr. Odell Beckham hasn't had an overall great season. He had the one really good game against the New York Jets of all teams, not really saying much. But the Baltimore Ravens, even though they do have a good defense, their number one cornerback, Jimmy Smith, is out for this game. So in a divisional game where they're trying to win, Baltimore's got a pretty stacked defensive line. Nick Chubb's not going to be getting a lot of touches. Look for Odell Beckham to be getting a fair share of those receiving targets. And then the bust candidates. Number one, again, Mike Evans. I don't think he's been very good this year. I don't think he's a part of Bruce Arians' real plan. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they traded him in the offseason. He doesn't seem to be a real part of their future so far. Plus, he's going to be playing a great physical cornerback in Aqib Talib this week. Marquise Brown of the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens are going to be wanting to run the football. The Browns have a decent pass defense, a pretty good pass rush. Plus, he's going to be having to go up against the number 4 overall pick from last year from Ohio State. I can't think of his name. But the cornerback that Cleveland took, he's been balling this year. Marquise Brown could potentially get shut down this week. Sammy Watkins, if he has to go up against Darius Slay, he's not going to have a great year. He had a great game. He had a great week 1, and then he's been slowing down ever since. So look for Sammy Watkins to potentially have a pretty slow day up against Detroit. Julian Edelman against Buffalo. Tre'Davious White so far has been probably the most productive cornerback in the NFL, and I think New England's going to be running the ball a lot of short passes. If Tre'Davious White gets on Julian Edelman, he could potentially have an empty day. And then Amari Cooper, he's going to be having to go up against Marshawn Lattimore in a real Saints defense. Dallas hasn't played a real defense yet. They played the Giants, Washington, and Miami. Look for a potentially really slow day for Amari Cooper against Marshawn Lattimore and the Saints defense this week.